Hi everyone, thank you for joining. We're about to start our panel session of how you can literally get into tech, where we will be speaking to these amazing people about their journeys into tech and everything within that. My name is Sonia. I'm the Women in Tech lead at Zontos, and I'm going to be leading the session. And I'm joined here by Claude, Augustina, Tessie, and Ephrata. So if you guys could just, starting off with Claude, if you could just give you a quick introduction about yourselves and what you do.
Oh, I didn't know I was going to be first, but I'm Claude. I am a product designer and I work at Soho House. Soho House is a private members company where they fixate on creatives and hospitality, but there's just so many things in the company that I'm still learning, and I've been here for 4 months. It's a very big company, but beside that, um, I've been designing for the past 5 years. So I've transitioned from architecture to graphics, now into product design and a bit of UX and UI design. And I feel like my career path is fluctuating. And yeah, that's me.
Thank you. Ephrata.
Hi, my name is Ephrata Ayede. You might hear someone accidentally call me Effie, but I go by Ephrata at work because if someone's going to mispronounce my name, I'd rather them mispronounce my full name. I am a trainee software engineer, or we call them software crafters at 8th Light, which is a tech consultancy. So we work in loads of different things. But right now, because I'm a trainee crafter, I'm going to have like 7 months, which I'm like a month and a half into, of just training and learning different languages and different like coding principles and things like that. So yeah.
Tessie, if you'd like to go next.
Okay. Hi guys. I'm Tessie. I am a product designer at Net-a-Porter. I've worked at Net-a-Porter for just over a month now, so yeah, quite new to the company. I'm enjoying it so far. Yeah, similar to Claude, I transitioned from architecture into UX UI about 2 years ago now. So yeah, I've been a designer for about 2 years.
And finally, Augustina.
Hi, I'm Augustina. I am a software technology manager slash a technical product manager at ARM, which is a computer architecture company based out of Cambridge, although I'm based in London as we are working from home. I am at an entry level graduate level, and I recently graduated from Warwick University where I studied electronic engineering.
Thank you guys. So I'm just going to open this question out onto the floor. So feel free to jump in if you want to. But the first question is, so quite a few of you have actually gone from different industries and transitioned into tech. So how was that journey for you, and how did you get started in your own journey? Okay, sorry, continue.
In terms of easiness, for me, it was quite smooth just because me studying architecture, I'm already in a creative field. It's just I'm designing for kind of a different purpose, but I'm still designing, so it was fine for me. But in terms of actually learning UX UI and like, finding resources, and initially I didn't really learn, I just designed, which is kind of backwards. Then I found like YouTube videos and things like that, and it was kind of okay. And I did this course as well of Circular, which helped. But I think because already came from a creative background, it was kind of, yeah, it was pretty easy. But I can imagine if someone wasn't initially a creative, it might be a bit harder. Yeah, for me, it was fine.
Let me go next. In a way, it's just going to mimic Tess because we basically came from the same background. But with architecture, we kind of focus on user experience in the spaces. And with UX and UI design and product design, we focus more about experiences in the digital world. So it was hard, but it was also quite smooth to go from architecture into um, product design because it's just like you're focused on experiencing but two different areas. And with me also it was more of like trial and error, and just because I already had like the design principles that I already learned from architecture, also graphics, it was quite easy for me to into tech and product design. But I would say finding the initial job and finding yourself was the hardest part for me. So yeah.
Augustine, would you like to go next?
Mine's a bit strange because I did engineering at university and I had like an electronics pathway, but I'm not an electronics engineer. So I am a product manager. However, I do work in a semiconductor company. So in some ways, you could say that my degree directly helps my role. But considering that my role is very business and communications focused with a very strong computer science element, there are parts of it that I just had to learn on the job. I think that when you're going from one industry to another, whether I can be qualified as that or not, it's just about you having to say, okay, I want to get here and I understand that I need to learn X, Y, and Z. And then there are other things I can learn on the job because it's not everything that you're going to be able to know straight away.
That's quite interesting. I think that's a very key thing, the willingness to learn when you're trying to transition into tech. And that's something that you definitely need to bring. And there is a lot to learn, and you'll probably have to self-teach yourself quite a bit. So that's a very key point there. And Ephrata.
So I did chemistry at uni and hated it. But the only thing I enjoyed was like problem solving, but everything else was quite boring to me. And then after I went and worked in like hospitality and retail while doing photography. So I wanted something a bit more creative, but then it wasn't challenging enough. So like my whole coding journey literally started in lockdown up until now. So it was very fast paced and it didn't really feel like I had time to kind of like bridge the gap of it or kind of know how it felt. But I feel like maybe the things I did before kind of prepared me for the role I'm in right now, like customer facing jobs and like being able to mediate and talk to people and stuff like that was quite easy. Like, because I feel like in tech, people don't mention how important soft skills are. I didn't notice it either until like I got into it and saw that people lacked it. So I would say it was a good blend having like a STEM background and then like also a hospitality and retail customer facing background. So yeah.
It's quite interesting. Just based off that, would you guys, what 2 skills would you say is necessary for someone to develop if they're trying to get into tech?
I want to go first. I would say problem solving and communication. If you can break down a complex topic to talk to a technical audience and a non-technical audience, you will literally succeed at many of the jobs in technology, whether it's engineering, business analysis, customer success, product management. So communication is definitely important. And from the technical part that I know from my role, a lot of your role is really problem solving and making sure that you understand the requirements that you have to either build something or to communicate to other people. So those would be the 2 for me.
I'll speak from like a design and product design point of view. I would say one of them is defending your designs or defending your work. I think that's very crucial. I'll say not at the beginning stage, but like when you become a mid or senior, you need to learn how to defend your work and like back your work in a sense, compared like because you have a lot of stakeholders saying they're putting their input in your work, but you as the designer need to bring it forward and like you need to be confident in your work. That's one of them. Then the second one, um, I would actually mix it between people skills and empathizing because most of the stuff we do is all about, it's not about you, it's about the people that are using your product. So you need to understand and empathize with what they want, their needs, and what they desire with the product you're designing. So that's me.
I'd say problem solving as well, and I'd say confidence, just because when you're starting, it's quite important to kind of share your work and post your work, but obviously you probably wouldn't feel that confident about your work. You might think it's rubbish or whatever, but you kind of have to have that a bit of confidence to just post it, because if you never really post or share it, you can't really grow, you can't get feedback, you'll kind of stay stagnant in a way. So I'd definitely say confidence, as well as when you get a job and you're presenting your designs, like you need to be confident in your designs, or no one's going to believe what you're saying, or even if it's backed up with research, if you don't sound confident in your own work, like no one's going to really think, not that it's good, but they're going to be a bit, you don't believe in it, why should we believe in it? And then problem solving, because when that's kind of the whole of design, you're solving a problem for the users, like that's kind of the starting point. So, and you mix that in with empathy as well as understanding the user. So yeah, that's my team.
I feel like everyone's kind of covered the bases. I would say perseverance, which is kind of similar to what other people said before, because I feel like, well, the way I came into tech was through a boot camp. So like you needed to have like motivation and like to get the work done in a short amount of time, and to retain the things that you're learning. And then I would say a desire to learn, because I feel like it's a lot easier for people if you actually enjoy what you're doing and you actually want to learn what you're working in. It makes it a lot easier for you to keep growing, because tech moves so quickly, you're going to always be learning, like for the rest of your career. So I'd say those two.
That's very interesting. So my next question for you guys would be, when you actually started your journey, what were the literal steps that you took? So did you just decide one day, okay, let me just start reading about this, or let me just jump on YouTube, or all your literal steps to getting into your current role, essentially?
Mine started with my friend. I basically, after I graduated, she wanted a logo for her business, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll do it. So I started designing the logo, and through the process, I was like, oh my God, I really enjoy this. This is so fun. So my whole career is kind of, I owe it to her, basically. But yeah, from that, I saw on Instagram some UI screens. I was like, oh, this looks nice, this looks interesting. And then I saw a tweet, a girl tweeted, it was when Afro Nation was happening, that she wished there was an Afro Nation app. And I was like, oh, let me try and design one. It can't be too hard. And I did it on InVision. Never used it before, just literally didn't know any UX, like fundamentals, just based on the screens I'd seen on Instagram. I designed it and people liked it. Looking back, it's like, no, I think it's so rubbish now, but I started off just by designing, basically, really without knowing any fundamentals. And then once I realized I really enjoyed like designing and doing UI designs, I started learning on YouTube, and I'd like find like read like articles online, and at the same time I was coding as well. So I started teaching myself how to code, because I wanted to code what I designed. I was just doing a lot at the time. But that's pretty much how I got started. It started off as something I enjoyed doing, as a hobby kind of, and it turned into a career for me. Yeah.
Let me go next. Mine actually, okay, let me start from the architecture side, because that's kind of how the journey started, the whole creative side. It started for me because I actually wanted to build my mom a house back when I was like in year 8. So that's how I got like the idea of becoming an architect. So I wanted to build a house for mom back in year 8 in Uganda. Then it kind of started from there. I used to like learn how to use like these 3D modeling programs, but because of that, I got more fixated into art stuff. So before, back in time, I was a drawer, I was a painter, but now I just kind of transitioned into the digital side. Then there was one point in the time in life where I actually made my sister a Snapchat filter. So it's basically similar to Tess. I made her Snapchat filter when I started to learn how to use Photoshop. Then from there, it kind of built clients on. Then like that's where I found the love for the graphic side. But when I finished uni, because I knew I didn't want to do architecture at the end of it, because it's a 7-year course, and I don't think I have the time to wait that long, and I don't think I have the amount of stress that course gave me was too much. So I knew I couldn't do it. So I was like, let me go into graphics. So I kind of freelanced for a bit. But I really wanted to design something that's more meaningful, because architecture was very meaningful. So you're designing buildings for people, but graphics is just, here's a logo, here's a brand package, and I didn't feel that connection. So when you send off your designs, you don't feel that connection. So I wanted to like get into a path that has meaningfulness into it, and that's where I found product design. And that's how, like, I think that's the same time there was like a Twitter community of UX and UI designers just coming together. That's how I met Tess, and from there it just rocketed up. So that's how I got into my journey of product design and UI.
I might as well go next. Mine is a bit embarrassing to say, but when I did a BTEC before I went to university, I did one in engineering and then I did an A-level in maths. And whilst I had dabbled a bit in some technology stuff, my end of year project was a smartwatch. I had a really strong fascination for cars, and I still do now. So I went to university and I said, I'm going to take mechanical engineering and I'm going to be a crash test engineer. The thing about Warwick University is that the first 2 years are they're general. So you do mechanical engineering, electronic engineering, system engineering, whatever. So I did everything thinking, yes, I'm going to do mechanical engineering. I'm going to graduate with a BEng in mechanical engineering. And I hated electronics. And then it got to the final year exams and I actually failed my mechanics exam. And I said, this is not for me. This is the ghetto. Don't want to do it anymore. So I started to look at other things and I realized that I wanted to go back to my interest in smartwatches and the Internet of Things. And then I became friends with an amazing woman who did the electronic engineering course, and she's a really close friend now. And I just wanted to be like her, and I loved the course, I loved the content, so I started to do it. When I really segued into technology was because despite everything, I really had a passion for emerging technologies in developing countries. And so I used that passion to speak at conferences. So the International Conference for Undergraduate Research, I did a topic on fintech and health tech in Ghana. And for me, I was like, yes, that's what I want to do right now. That's where I want to go. But then I wanted to be a fintech analyst and I wanted to be a data scientist. So I did internships in data science and machine learning at a startup. And then I realized that I really love combining my technical knowledge and business. So in my final year, I applied to ARM. And well, actually, my second year, I applied to ARM, did an internship, and in my final year, I went on the grad scheme. So that's where I am now.
So as I mentioned before, I did chemistry at uni, and then afterwards I was just kind of like living the artist life, so to say. But then I was doing photography, and I kind of like learned the Adobe Suite quite quickly, so I kind of grew interested in like designing other things. So I was looking at like internships and stuff at Apple and Adobe, and I spent a lot of time applying to them and got rejected by both. And then I was telling a customer at work about it, and she was like, oh, she works in tech and she knows somebody who's doing a boot camp right now. And then that lady got in contact with me, and then it was Founders and Coders. And then like there was like a 2-month gap, and we'd just gone into lockdown to apply for the course. And usually it takes like 6 months to a year. So I was just like, I didn't think I would get in. I just kind of applied because I'd rather like be rejected than say no to myself type of thing. So I just applied on the whim. My website was horrible. It was really bad. It was very, very basic. And then I got in. So then I finished that. I did some contracts. I ended up working at Disguise. They work in like XR, AR, and things like that. It wasn't a really good fit for me. But I did learn C++ and other languages through that. And I kind of like grew to love learning different languages and seeing how I could apply them to different areas of software. Because initially I was interested in like making things pretty. But then I grew more interested in just kind of like how everything functions together, like how the back end and front end meet. So I was more interested in like full stack development. So then I applied to 8light, again on a whim, but I really wanted to work here. And then, you know, to God be the glory, I got the job. So then now I'm mostly trained in just building different systems in different languages right now. So yeah, boot camp, contract work, and then where I am now, that's kind of how I got here.
Sounds really interesting. Thank you guys for sharing. My next question is, what specific advice would you give to anyone who's transitioning into tech, whether it's someone who has a degree background or someone who's just completely starting out with no degree? If you could like include any like practical websites that might have helped you, that'd be amazing.
To be honest, I wouldn't say there's like a linear process of you going into it. I would just say just start somewhere, then you'll find your avenue, because like at the beginning it's like there's so many things to learn. So if you feel like, okay, let me take it in steps, learn this, but you don't start, you won't go nowhere. So I would just say just pick something, test it out, see if you like it, then move on to something else if you don't. But if you like it, you like a little element of it, just continue going to that element, because when you grow into, like, let's say at a junior, you're not supposed to know everything. That's one thing. Most of the times you need to learn. They want you to learn. There's some companies that make you wait, hold on, rephrase. Cool. There's some companies that help you learn on the job, but there's some companies that expect you to know everything, and that's not how it is when you're a junior. Like you go into the company and they're teaching you, but as you grow, when you get more experience, like your tunnel turns, it goes into like, I don't know what that shape is when it goes up. So basically like a triangle. So you get exposed to everything at the bottom, but when you get to the top, you're specialized in something. So like there's so many different aspects of product design. So there's UX, UI design. No, there's UI, there's UX. There's UX research, there's UI designer, there's UI developer. But at near the end of it, like you kind of pick your niche. So what I really want to be, I don't know what I want to be. So I'm doing UX and UI at the same time. But the more I get into doing the work, I feel like UX is more for me than UI now. So like I'm kind of swaying to that side. So maybe the next role I get, I'll be more fixated on UX, so I won't be touching UI. So I'm going to be a specialist in UX. So start somewhere. So if you don't like it, switch to something else. Or tech is very big. I'm just saying that tech is very big. So there's a lot of opportunities everywhere. So just at least start somewhere. Go on YouTube, talk to people, network with other people, especially offline as well as online. And yeah, you'll probably find your way there. Like that, it'll be hard, but yeah, it pays off.
You can go.
Kind of going off that, definitely you have to start somewhere. Like tech is quite big, so even if it's a thing where you are maybe interested in UX UI and then you want to code or you want to do QA or something like that, do try it first. Because I know for me, I was initially interested in UX UI, but then like literally a month later, I was like, oh, I want to code as well. So I started learning how to code. Like obviously some people may not have the time, but try and maybe dedicate one day or 1 week to different things that you're interested in. And do courses. Like when I started, even though I was more interested in UX UI, I also love coding. So I did a course with Sky, a coding course. And then once I did that, I still love coding, but I realized I actually want to be a UX designer in my job. Like that's what I want to do as my role. So I kind of continued pursuing that path. But now it's at a stage where I want to actually, in the future, maybe not now, find a role where I can merge the two. So my ideal role is like a creative technologist, so I can design and code as well. So I definitely think start with everything and figure out what you like. I know now it's kind of, people think of tech and think maybe UX, UI, software development, cybersecurity, and don't think of anything else. But there's so many different like roles that you would not even think of, that you don't even need to code or design. There's so many different. So take your time to do the research and actually find out what you're interested in and what skills you have that you can kind of take and apply it to this new kind of role that you want to do. Other advice would be find a community, network. I know when I started, I didn't really do that. But then, like Claude said, there was like a design thing going on Twitter. We did the daily UI challenge, and that was quite good because it just felt like everyone, yeah, like a community. It was just nice, yeah. And I met Sonia and Claude and quite a lot of other different designers. And when you start meeting these people, ask them for advice, for feedback on your designs. If you want to do a design session, reach out. Like, don't be scared to reach out because you're not the only one starting out. Like, there's loads of other people that are starting out as well. So don't be afraid. If you message someone, they say no, you won't die. You know, you'll be okay. You'll be fine. Like, that's how I think. Because I used to be really shy and scared to like reach out to people. But now it's like, just do it. What's the worst that could happen? On LinkedIn as well, connect with, literally just type in product designer, UX designer, connect with everyone you can see, and then go on who they're connected with and connect with them. Because through that, you might meet people, you might get new opportunities. Like, honestly, like online, there's so many opportunities. When it comes to actually learning, find courses. There's a lot of free courses, YouTube. Like I basically attended the University of YouTube during my course. I literally learned most of the software I know how to use. I learned on YouTube. Like, my lecturers didn't teach me that. So definitely utilize the free resources you can. And then if you're someone that maybe prefers a more structured way of learning where it's not, do it yourself, find a course that you can do. There's scholarships out there that you can kind of take use of, especially if you're Black or women. Yeah, there's loads of scholarships. What else? I'm trying to think of everything. More so the UX side and product design side, try and read. That's something I need to do more of. Of course, things are always changing, but fundamentally, there's always like a basis, if that makes sense. So try and read different books and watch videos as well and attend online conferences. Yeah, I hope that has helped. I feel like I've rambled on on different things, but yeah. The world is your oyster. Don't limit yourself, basically. Don't limit yourself.
From a coding perspective, I guess, and from someone that didn't take, like, I guess, the straight route into tech, I would say, similar to what Tess said, like, there's so many free stuff out there, like Free Code Camp, especially their YouTube, has a lot of like 4-hour, 10-hour videos to give you a kickstart into a language. And I think Ruby, Python, and JavaScript are good languages to start with. I think they have a lot of like documentation that's kind of easy for beginners to kind of learn. I like Codecademy's, like, the way they teach a bit better than Free Code Camp's site. But I think flexing both would be good. And then when you feel a bit more comfortable, starting with Code Wars or something like that would be a good start, just to kind of see if you like coding or if like you're enjoying it. And then in terms of like jobs and hiring and boot camps, I'd say there's a lot more free opportunities for boot camps now. I know Makers was offering some like free scholarships into their program at some point. Like, a lot of boot camps that used to charge, because it is quite expensive to pay for a boot camp, now have like free opportunities through the year if you kind of keep your eye out. The ones I know of mainly are Founders and Coders that I did, Makers. I haven't heard from anyone personally that's done Code Assembly. I can't remember what it's called actually, or Flatiron, but the rest are quite good. And in terms of like, if you want to like self-teach yourself and just apply for jobs, I'd say one thing that I've learned is that even if you qualify for 10% or 20% of what the job description says, apply. Like, it's about you, not necessarily what you can do. And like everyone else has said before, you learn a lot on the job. Like, as long as you have like the I don't know, the energy, the vim to like want to do the job, they'll take you on. I was listening at a conference and this guy literally said that no one would hire him because he didn't have a bachelor's degree. He went and started his own company and now he works at like Peloton and he's been at like Twitter and different companies like that. So, and he's never interviewed for a job ever since he started his own company. He's been headhunted. So I think there's a lot of experiences that are the exception, but it definitely is the example for you to just give it a go, just get started and just try. And you learn a lot from rejections as well, and asking back for feedback from things that you apply to. That really helped me. And also just like, don't say no to yourself. That's something I had to learn. Like, there's no harm in trying. Just try and get rejected. Don't be like, oh no, I can't do this. if you do that, you're missing out on loads of possible opportunities that you could have got. But yeah, that would just be what I'd say about getting into tech.
I think everything that everyone has said has been pretty spot on. The things I would add is, yeah, don't be afraid to fail either. Like I said, I failed a module at uni and now it's put me on the best career of my life. Understand that tech is not the like easy, you do one thing and you get paid six figures thing that sometimes people try to perpetuate, because it's not. I would love to be on six figures, but it's just not the case when you start out. So be prepared for that. I would say from an engineering product management perspective, if you want to learn about a company, a lot of time people Google the company, read the news. A fantastic resource is their developer page. You can find a developer page for any company, whether it's Microsoft, it'll be developer.microsoft.com. I know Intel's is developer.intel.com, I think it is. Just type in developer.company.com and you'll usually find it. It has a lot of documentation about the projects that they're doing. You can find out about their conferences. I know that for my company, we have developer.arm.com, which houses all of our projects. So when you're researching for a company, that is a fantastic place to start. And I think it's very underrated. And not many people know about it. I literally work on content for the developer site, which is why I know about it now. But a lot of people do not know about it. So it will definitely help you to stand out in interviews. Apart from that, try everything. I tried UX UI design and I realized that I really loved UX research. So I started to grow my skill set in there. Like I said, I had a passion for crash test engineering. So I learned about 3D modeling. I learned about IoT and sensors, all these different types of things. And whilst I don't do those things as jobs, everything that I've learned has been able to help me to do my job. Also, be relentless. And I want to choose the word carefully when I say this, but have no shame. Because this is an instance where having no shame is a great thing, because what it allows you to do is just push yourself. When I was at university, I was like, I'm going to start blogging about tech startup CEOs, and I didn't know any. So I remember I messaged a man randomly on LinkedIn who was in Sweden, and this was in 2017, I think. And he runs a fintech company, and at that time I was interested in fintech. So I messaged him, and he was like, yeah, like I'll give you my time. We ended up having a Skype call. I wrote notes. I never wrote up that blog post to post, but he has become an incredible mentor to me, and we talk all the time, and it's really lovely. So I think that you push yourself out there. Whether people say, oh, well, they don't know what they're doing, whatever, it's actually fine, because realistically, no one knew what they were doing when they started. I still struggle sometimes to know what I'm doing. I get told frequently at work, like, people don't know all the acronyms, or they don't know all the products that we have, and that's okay. It's absolutely okay to not know everything at every single time. So give yourself a break and give yourself enough grace. I also think that it's important to advocate for yourself. If you don't advocate for yourself, there will get a point in your career where you'll be stagnant, because not everyone can advocate for you all the time. It's great to have mentors and it's great to have peers. I also recommend networking across, because it's very handy, especially as you grow with your peers, but actually advocating for yourself. So putting blog posts out there, posting things on Twitter, getting on a podcast. One thing that my brother taught me that I absolutely love him for is that he didn't go to university, and he taught himself everything that he knows. He did Udacity courses, and he taught himself engineering, and now he's an engineering manager at a fan company. And I remember one time he did a technical talk, and I said to him, like, how are you going to be able to do this? He said, I'm going to put myself out there. I'm going to research. I'm going to learn just the way that other people learned when they were doing things. I'm going to talk to people and I'm going to present it. And I remember that stuck with me, because it made me realize that you can actually push yourself to do absolutely anything you want in this world. When they say the world is your oyster, it literally is. And tech is definitely a key to doing that. by the grace of God, we're in an era and we're in a society where we have access to the internet and access also to other people to learn. So definitely take that and run with it. And also utilize the resources that your company gives you. Utilize internal documentation, learn about what's going on in your company. If you are in a company saying that you're doing software development and you want to transfer to business consultancy, then look for someone in the company, shadow them for a bit, take on some of their work, understand what it means, and utilize that instead of saying, oh, I'm going to quit and then look for something else. This is a cheat code, especially if you're in a global company. And finally, I don't want to ramble on too much, but build skills outside of tech because they will help you in tech. Actually, I've got one more, but make sure that you allow yourself to do things outside of technology. For example, I love learning languages and I love reading. And it's actually helped me a lot in my role. It's helped me to communicate with people in different countries, even if I'm not speaking the language, but understanding mannerisms and being able to build myself up in that way. So that's been really good. And finally, understand any support that you need. I myself am neurodivergent, so I'm dyslexic and dyspraxic. And when I started my job, I didn't really make it known that I may need support and I may need to do things in a slightly different way. I may do things a bit slow, I may do things a bit faster at certain times. So definitely advocate for yourself again and get the support that you need to excel, because it is there, but sometimes you just have to step forward and take it. So there. Sorry if I was rambling.
Thank you, guys. We have a couple of questions, so I'll just ask two, and then if anyone is staying afterwards, they can ask some questions in the lobby area. But so my current CV has a lot of IT technician backgrounds, but I'm now transitioning into UI. How do I write up my CV in a way that people will hire me even though I don't have much experience?
You go.
I would say I wouldn't say put it more in the CV. I'll put it more in the cover letter why you're transitioning, and I'll say give reasons why. And like what one of my mentors told me, have like when you say why, say it 5 times so you know it's like it's realistic. It's not realistic, but you know it's true, it's truthful and it's real. If you can say something, if I ask you a question and you can answer it why 5 times, you know that's what you want to do. So like you know it sticks into you. So like write it, let's say, yeah, write it in your cover letter. That's what I'll say. That's me.
With when it comes to your CV, I'd say try and in maybe other jobs you've had, try and highlight the skills that are you can transfer to be a UI design. So you try and highlight them, maybe put them in bullet points or say the things you achieved there that kind of can be transferable. And with that, because you don't have the experience, try and focus, more your cover letter and your portfolio. Just make sure your portfolio shows, even though you don't have kind of industry experience, you've done work that can show, okay, I do have this skill, I can do this. So definitely, focus on your cover letter and then your portfolio as well. Yeah.
I would say, the portfolio. I think most companies, they actually don't, for product design, they don't really look at the CV. It's more or less the cover letter straight into the portfolio. And with your portfolio, it kind of really shows your background. So it's not only you showing your UI skills, but it's also you giving a brief example of who you are and why you want to get into UI. So also fixate on your portfolio as well, make that perfect.
Thank you. I think last question, just before we officially round up the stream. So coming from a non-technical background, would you recommend boot camps or self-learning?
Both.
Sorry, just really quickly. Speaking for someone who actually did self-learning, I would probably recommend a boot camp. I would say if you can afford it, I would say definitely have a boot camp. The access not just to industry people, but to peers is really good. And sometimes with self-learning, you can kind of dig yourself either into a hole of specializing really quickly. And also I say self-learning outside of my university, but you can put yourself in a hole really quickly and specialize too early, or you end up missing fundamentals. However, if you can self-learn and have a mentor, that is a free cheat code. And an advocate, someone who can advocate for you in the industry, that is really useful as well. So yeah, I would say a boot camp if you can afford it just for the structure, but if you can't, try to get a mentor that can help you maybe build up a curriculum that you can do yourself and advocate for you as you put projects out there, etc.
Me, I would say both actually, but I'll start off with self-learning before the boot camp. The reason why with self-learning, like when you self-learn, you kind of understand it in your own perspective, your own time. So you give yourself time to actually learn certain things. And when you actually self-learn, you can actually learn things that the boot camp doesn't teach you. So the boot camp is more about the fundamentals of stuff. But when you're self-learning, you can go into like extra detail in certain areas. And when you come from a self-learning onto a boot camp, it's self-learning is like you learn bits over here, bits over here, bits over here, bits over here. But with the boot camp, it's like a linear process. So with that boot camp, the linear process, you can actually bridge and put everything together that you've done in self-learning. Then you have like, I'll say you have more of an understanding when you're at the boot camp, when you self-learned before. So I would probably go for self-learning, then into boot camp if you still don't feel comfortable just with your self-learning.
I would recommend a boot camp personally from my experience, but I think it's dependent on how you learn, because I know 100% that I wouldn't be where I was now if I was in charge of my learning, because I get distracted way too easily. Like self-learning takes a whole amount of like self-motivation and drive, way more than if you're in a boot camp. And like Augustina said before, like when you're in a boot camp, as well as like access to like the industry and higher ups and just like an easier way to network for people who maybe don't want to like strive out on their own, well, it doesn't happen for everyone, but there's a high chance of you forming your own community within tech and already making friends with people within tech. Like my bootcamp friends were helping me with my 8 Light interview. Like they're up at like 9 p.m. checking my code and trying to break my code for me. So I would say there's that like access to it as well. So it's completely dependent on what type of learner you are, how good you are with like working with other people, because there's a huge push in tech right now for pair programming and like agile working and things like that. So I feel like you kind of lose that when you're self-learning as well. So I would say a boot camp, but find a free boot camp if it's possible.
With that, I'd say I think it quite massively, not massive, but it depends on which part of tech you want to get into. So for example, with coding, I would say maybe more so the bootcamp route, just because when I was teaching myself coding initially, it was hard, but it was just a bit more trickier, because if I wanted to fix something that I'm working on or find a way to do it, I'd either have to YouTube it, Google it. I didn't really have anyone to go and ask. Whereas when I did the bootcamp, I could just ask my instructor. I could ask the girls on the course. There was Freda said, there's that access to people that is quite nice when you're boot camp. With UX UI design, I'm mostly self-taught, and I found that okay for me because it's more natural to me, UX design, because I'm a creative. That came more natural to me, so I was fine teaching myself. But also when I did do the boot camp, it was nice to have that structure, to have a mentor I could go to kind of check my work and check my case studies. So I think, yeah, it definitely depends on which part of tech you want to go into and what type of learner you are as well. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you, everyone. And thank you for joining us. If you just want to quickly plug your social media before we jump off, or where people can find you.
If you have any questions, you can find me on LinkedIn. It's Augustina Adjei, Adjei. And then on Twitter, if you have any questions, you can message me there. It's _Augustina with like 2 A's at the end. I can't remember. Yeah, those are the places for me.
Mine are Instagram and Twitter. It's the same. It's TSE_OMO. Yeah, and then LinkedIn is my full name, so Tessia Bethan, and yeah, that's it.
My social media handles is Claude LUKKZ. So CLAUDE LUKKZ. When you type that in, you'll probably find my Insta, Twitter, LinkedIn, and my website. So yeah.
You can find me on LinkedIn, Ephrata Oyedo. Oyedo is OYEDOH. You can find me on Twitter, Effie Oyedo, EPHIEOYEDOH.
Thank you guys and have a great day. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.